Welcome to this video about render modes and visualization tools in iiQWorks.Sim. In this session, you will learn how to focus on specific objects in your simulation, how to switch between 2D and 3D views, how to use different render modes, and how to display coordinate frames for robots, tools, and bases. Let's start by opening a layout in iiQWorks.Sim. On the left side of the simulation window, you will always see a vertical toolbar with several icons. These icons control how your scene is displayed and how you navigate through your application. Now let's go through the toolbar from top to bottom. The first icon is called All. When you click on it, the camera zooms out and shows the entire simulation from a bird's eye view. This is very useful if you are looking for an object that is located at the edge of your application, or if you have lost orientation in a complex layout. From this overview, you can continue working by selecting a specific component. For example, if you select the robot and then click on Fill Selected, the camera jumps directly to a detailed view of the robot. This allows you to focus on that object and continue your work without manually navigating through the scene. You can do the same with other components. For instance, select the block and click on Fill Selected. The camera moves directly to it, and you can orbit around the controller to inspect it more closely. If you zoom into one object that is not selected with Fill Selected, a gray background of the simulation might come and hide the view. Then you need to zoom out and focus on the wanted object with Fill Selected again. Next, let's return to the full view of the application. The following icon is the headlight. This option controls the lighting in the simulation. When the headlight is disabled, the scene is illuminated by a default light coming from above. When you enable the headlight, a light source is attached to your camera view. This brightens the entire scene from your perspective and can be very helpful when working in darker areas of the cell. The next icon is the orthographic mode, which is a very important feature. By default, the simulation is displayed in a 3D perspective view. When you activate orthographic mode, the view switches to a 2D projection. In this 2D view, objects no longer appear with depth. For example, when looking from the side, you will not see elements that are behind each other. This makes the view very precise and uncluttered. Switching back to the 3D view restores depth perception and gives you a more realistic impression of the cell. The 2D view is especially useful when you need to perform detailed alignment work, measure distances accurately, or take clean screenshots from the top or side without visual obstructions. Now let's move on to the render modes. By clicking on the render mode icon, you open a drop-down menu with several visualization options. The first render mode is Wireframe. In this mode, you only see the tessellation of the objects, meaning all the triangles and edges that make up the geometry. This allows you to see through objects and understand their structure. Next is All Edges Shaded. This mode still shows all edges, but the faces are shaded with color. It is very useful when you want to select a specific face or edge, for example when defining paths or reference geometry. The next option is Face Edges Shaded. This mode highlights only the main edges while keeping the overall appearance cleaner. It reduces visual clutter and is very practical for everyday work. After that, we have X-ray Shaded. This mode allows you to see through solid objects. It is especially helpful when you are searching for components that are hidden behind other geometry or when something seems to be missing in the scene. The shaded mode removes visible edges and focuses on lighting and surface details. This gives a clean and simple visualization. Material Shaded adds material properties, such as shininess, to the surfaces. This helps you better distinguish different components based on their materials. Realistic Shaded further improves lighting and shading, making the scene look more realistic. You can clearly see the difference in surface details and shadows. The final render mode combines realistic shading with visible edges. This is useful when you want a realistic look but still need to select specific edges or geometry elements. Let's switch back to Face Edges Shaded and continue with the next icon. The Frame Display icon allows you to show coordinate frames in the scene. When you activate it, all available frames in the modeling or program view are displayed, such as robot frames, positionings, tools, and bases. You can enable or disable different frame types individually. For example, you can choose to display only robot frames, or only tools and base frames. When you switch to the program view and select the robot, the tool and base frames become visible. You can clearly see the tool data and base data represented as coordinate systems. In the home settings for frames, you can further configure how frames are displayed. You can hide or show labels, axes, or keep only the frame origins visible, depending on how much information you need on the screen. The next icon in the toolbar is the turn on or of the focus mode. Here the selected objects will stay visible and other objects will turn transparent. You can change the opacity of the invisible objects or change the settings of the focus mode. The next icon in the toolbar is the View Editor. This allows you to save custom camera views. If you like a specific view, click the plus icon to store it. You can save multiple views, for example, one focused on the robot and another focused on the block. By clicking on these save views, you can quickly jump between them with smooth camera transitions, without using the predefined standard views. This makes navigation much faster and more efficient, especially in complex virtual commissioning projects. The last icon enables you to switch on or off 3D icons in the simulation. In this case, we have a shortcut to execution modes of the robot that will directly take you to the execution mode settings. This concludes the overview of the visualization and render modes in iiQWorks.Sim.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Make sure to subscribe the KUKA channel for the latest updates and tutorials. For hands-on experience, check out the KUKA College. Until next time, and keep learning and simulating.
Making automation easier.